Greetings. This is the one you've known as Jesus the Christ. Prayer is talking to God. It's a one-way conversation, or at least you may feel it is, but it's an important conversation to have. For one thing, it identifies the issue, the problem, or the need, the thing you feel is missing that makes you unhappy. To pray for help, you need to be aware of something you want changed. This awareness is the first step in changing something. Awareness empowers you to change whatever you'd like to change. It also enables you to get assistance from other realms to do that. So when you pray, two things are happening. You're asking for assistance from other realms and calling it forth. But importantly, you are also defining for yourself what you want on a deeper level. What is it you think you need or want to be happy? This God that you pray to doesn't have to be an imagination of a wise being. It can be anything you're comfortable with conceiving God as. Don't let the idea that God must be a being, an entity, stop you from praying. Pray to the universe, pray to the intelligence, pray to the forces that be. Pray to whatever it is you conceive of as a helping force, as wisdom, as intelligence, as the power behind the universe. God is not actually a singular being, as most of you realize anyway, but it is a force for creation. It is also all of life as it's expressed. It is the force that creates life, and it is life living itself in the many ways that it does. This is God. So you pray to this force and ask to be aligned with it, and for help with whatever you think you need help with. When you speak your needs, you may discover they aren't true needs, and that there's something deeper that is more important to pray for. When you open yourself up to speaking to God, an evolution can happen. You discover things about yourself. This is the basis for psychotherapy as well, or the value of friendship and relationship. When you speak things out loud, you learn about yourself. So it is with talking with God. You learn about yourself. Things that are unconscious become conscious. Your awareness grows. Another valuable thing about prayer is that it's a way of overcoming certain subconscious blocks. When you speak openly and clearly about what you want, you're also addressing your subconscious and saying, "This is what I want. This is my intention." Speaking your intention out loud empowers you to overcome any subconscious forces that are working against attaining that intention. Prayer is a way of reprogramming the subconscious and helping you move forward. You form an intention, state that intention, and that creates a new possibility. Perhaps you've been following some habit that hasn't been helpful. When you speak an intention to change that habit, your subconscious mind aligns with that and says, "Okay, now that I know what you want, let's do that. I thought you wanted the other thing." The same is true of the forces assisting you in other dimensions. When they hear of your intention, they come forward and say, "Okay, she's ready to have something new in her life. She's ready for help. She's finally aware of this and ready for us to help her with it." That's what goes on when you pray. When you speak to God, you can say anything. This is very important, because with other people you often can't just say anything. Even with yourself, you sometimes feel that it's not right to think something. With God, you can say anything. With God, there is an all-pervading compassion and love, so you can say anything. It's good to say whatever you're moved to say, to get it out in the open where you can see it. Then you can see if it's true or not. Sometimes you hold back your thoughts instead of examining them, and in holding them back, they persist. If you have a negative belief, it won't stop coming up until it's acknowledged and examined. It won't be healed unless you see it and examine it, and in that examination, see that it isn't true. However, it isn't enough to be aware of a negative thought if you still believe it. You have to be aware of it and also see that it isn't true. Only then can you be free of it. Just being aware of a negative thought, just witnessing it, is not enough to heal it. If a thought is still believed, it will come up again, although witnessing does diminish its strength, and witnessing is better than identifying with it. Identifying with a negative thought would be believing it and reinforcing it by speaking it. If you want to be free of a thought, you have to question its validity. If you do, you'll always discover that a negative thought is not true, that it isn't valid. A true thought would be true under all circumstances, and true always, because that is what truth is. Truth is true. Given this, very few thoughts would pass this test. If a thought that makes you feel bad doesn't pass this test, isn't true always and throughout time, then what good is it? It has no useful purpose. It only makes you feel bad. So you can discard it. To move beyond negative beliefs and misunderstandings, you have to really truly see that they are useless and untrue. When you stop believing them, they'll diminish in their power and arise much less frequently. In speaking out loud to God, you're speaking these thoughts. Doing this is like writing in a journal. You can see what's in your mind, what falseness is there. Speak your thoughts to God. Listen to yourself. See the falseness and see what is true. You will know when you're speaking truth in a prayer because of how it feels. Talking to God is a little bit like therapy. You're talking to a wise, accepting, compassionate being, the ultimate being who is truly loving you unconditionally. This is a powerful experience, as is therapy for many people when it's done properly. Having a compassionate, accepting being witnessing your life, witnessing your thoughts and your expression, is very powerful. Then you can begin to sort out what's true and isn't true, what's real and isn't real, what you want and what you don't really want, what you need and what you don't really need. Do this as an exercise in emotional health and well-being. Do this for yourself. This is part of a natural clearing process you can engage in every day. Talk to the Beloved, talk to God, and you will never feel alone. For this Beloved is always there listening. More and more, you will begin to experience that the Beloved is always there and always listening, always loving you, always caring. In this way, you develop a relationship with the Beloved, with God. In that relationship is a wholeness. You can receive what you need within yourself from this relationship. And like any relationship, it requires nurturing, time spent and care given, and then it deepens. A relationship with the divine doesn't happen overnight. It's something that must be nurtured over time, but it is time well spent, as this relationship will support you and give you a sense of stability and wholeness, completeness. When you express your needs to the divine, and those needs are fulfilled on the deepest levels, sometimes apparently and sometimes less apparently, there's much less need for others to fulfill your needs. There's less need to speak to others about your needs, who sometimes are not that helpful. Human beings can often reinforce negative thoughts and egoic ways of thinking. You won't find that when you're talking to God. You have an open line where you talk and listen to yourself, and then you do receive from the divine as you open up. You receive in various ways. Sometimes those ways are fairly tangible and measurable. At other times they are immeasurable, and yet you've received something. You can't evaluate what you receive in these conversations in the usual way. You can't say, "Well, I asked God to fix my problem, and it didn't get fixed, so what's the use?" There is something much deeper that goes on in prayer than asking for something and seeing if you get it. There is engagement on a much deeper and more important level, a level that relates to your growth and evolution, your healing and your deepening. Your spiritual growth is not easily assessed by your mind. When you open up to the divine in this way, it's about your spiritual growth. You are opening up for help on the level of your growth, your evolution, your healing, and that is what you will receive help with. You may receive help in the mundane aspects of life as well, who knows? But that is not the purpose of prayer. The purpose of prayer is not to get things from God. That is not what prayer is about. Prayer is a discovery of your own inner self, where you're at, where you're going, and how you'll get there. These are the things that are discovered in prayer by speaking and listening to yourself, and also by listening inwardly to whatever answers you might receive. Just as important as speaking to God is listening to God. When you listen to God, you listen with your whole self. You aren't listening with your ears, because you aren't likely to receive words in answer to your questions. But your heart will receive answers. Your body will receive answers. You will receive knowings, a sense of rightness, courage, strength, inspiration, and ideas. When you open up this line of communication with God, you open yourself up to more of what has already been given to you to help you along your way. The beings that are guiding your life can activate your strength and courage. They can drop an inspiration or idea into your body or mind. They can steer you here or there with feelings of excitement and joy. These are the answers you receive when you develop a relationship to God in prayer. You may not receive these answers as soon as you ask for them, though. They are scattered throughout your day. You never know when you might receive an answer. All of a sudden, you have an answer or an inspiration. All of a sudden, you have an idea. You feel strength. You feel excitement. You feel joy. Or you feel connected. These are the answers to your prayers. Life brings you the people you need, the opportunities you need, and the ideas and inspiration you need. Life brings you everything you need, and nothing more. You aren't brought things you don't need. That could be confusing and throw you off track. Other people might bring you opportunities, but if they aren't aligned with your greatest good, they probably won't work out, or you won't feel like pursuing them. So if life brings you an opportunity and you're joyful and excited about it, then by all means say yes to it, because it must be right. Opportunities are answers to your prayers, whether or not you recognize them as that. When you pray, you always receive something, But if you don't notice what you're receiving, it's as if you haven't received it. For instance, if you receive strength and you don't recognize the strength inside yourself, it's as if you don't have it. Or if you recognize the strength but talk yourself out of it, it's as if it hasn't been given to you. It's important to recognize these gifts or you won't use them. You won't feel that you have them. You'll close down and think you don't have the support you need, and the egoic fears will take over. You have to work at noticing and acknowledging the subtle gifts that are available to you, and also the opportunities that are not so subtle. Acknowledging these things doesn't come naturally, because the mind doesn't acknowledge subtle realities such as courage, faith, love, strength, and patience. The egoic mind doesn't view these as significant. It sees the world from a place of lack. Even when you've been given gifts, the egoic mind often doesn't see them, accept them, or utilize them. It sees right past them and goes on thinking that there isn't enough, that this is a limited universe, that I never get what I want, I can't seem to get what I need, the world is against me. This is the egoic perception. You are programmed to feel lacking inside and to feel the world is lacking, unkind, threatening, and that you have to fight to survive. These beliefs themselves create this reality. Believing that the world is a fearful place and that goodness is not behind life but difficulty and perhaps even evil will create that very experience. These beliefs become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The mind creates its own reality by believing certain things. You become your own worst enemy when you believe your thoughts. The thoughts in your thought stream are not your friend. They don't have your best interest at heart. They don't give you courage or strength or patience. They do the opposite, don't they? The thoughts in your head take away your courage, your strength, and your patience. They make you irritable, impatient, unhappy, and feeling like a victim. How are these thoughts your friend? How are they helpful? Why do you listen to them? And so you have to learn to listen on more subtle levels to the gifts that appear there. You have to learn to notice the courage, the strength, the patience, the perseverance, and all the other qualities you innately have by virtue of being a divine being. As above, so below. The divine is goodness, and this goodness is within you. This goodness is not so accessible at times because your egoic mind is your default. The egoic mind nullifies these gifts. It neutralizes them. It disempowers you. So you have to learn to move beyond the mind to regain your power as a divine son or daughter. You have all the goodness, all the strength, and everything you need to live this life beautifully, happily, joyfully, and to be of service to all of creation in the way you're meant to be. You have everything you need to be this in the world. You have to overcome the egoic mind, though, which interferes with knowing this and tapping into these gifts from God, which are qualities of your divine nature. So the key is to notice the gifts, notice the courage, notice the love, notice the patience, notice the strength, and the abilities to persevere, to care, and to connect with others. Everything that is good about human beings is your divine nature. So, dear ones, notice how wonderful you are. Notice your goodness. Notice your strength and know that they are gifts given to you to help you on your way and help you live the life you're meant to live. These are your resources. You have not been left alone, and you are not lacking in any way. You always have whatever you need. So know this, and know that praying will help you receive what you need and help you notice that you have received it. Because once you've asked for something, you'll be looking to receive it. Prayer helps you notice what you're receiving and that you're receiving on a continual basis. Thank you for being here. I am with you always.